Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Leadership Lunch Chat. I'm here with my very good friend, Amy Vetter. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
And we're here to
Happy
talk
to
about,
see you.
I feel good to see you too. I'm really lucky and just, happy to talk about leadership issues facing our profession. And Amy and I get to clear all sorts of things with one another and with you all. And we're very grateful for that. We love it when you give us things that you're concerned about or worried about. And we both are business owners and we both are, raising families and all of those things. And we have our own issues, certainly as leaders. And today we're going to talk about tough decisions. We have tough decisions as business leaders and as parents and just as children. I'm helping my elderly parents along in life. There's tough decisions there. So how do you process those decisions? How do you know when it's time to make them? How do you communicate them? So those are the things that we thought that we talk about. And I'm going to turn it over to Amy because, she has something very personal and close to her in this realm that we're going to kind of maybe discuss a little bit as a case study. Amy?
Yeah. For the people that are part of my yoga studio, everyone was notified last night that we are going to be closing the studio in March. Still very hard to talk about. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
But
Big breath, big breath, big breath.
It's hard to say out loud. The decision has not come easy. And this decision obviously was none of our faults. Through COVID, the business got turned upside down. And we did, my staff did, everyone tried to pull together as much as possible to keep things going the last couple years, but my lease was coming due and I really had to make some hard looks at the business. And I think it's a really important thing to talk about as any business owner, because this business, and like any business, it becomes like a child, a part of your body. It's just who you are, and it's and a dream that you have. Sorry. But as a business owner, you can't just hold on. And there were some opportunities that came by that just didn't work out, or after thinking through them, it just wouldn't have made sense. And one of the things that I had to do during this process was really start taking myself personally out of the business and thinking like as if this was a business owner that was my client that I was consulting with.
Yes.
Which is a very hard thing to do. But I think as business owners, whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, it's important that we are doing what's right for the business and what's right for the people that work in that business. And the community. And so one of the things that I decided to do through this process was figure out how to go about this peacefully. So yes, I could go down the path of selling the business, but it just wasn't the path I decided to go. That I knew I had to take care, this business being such a, it becomes a second home for people, and our staff, the people that come there and so forth, that I had to think through also just beyond my own emotion, what everybody else is going to need during this time. And one of the hard things that I've seen happen with businesses closing is they happen right away with not much notice to the customers and not giving customers the time to heal through the process, whether it's a restaurant, whatever it is,
Yes.
right? Like It's something that you have, there was a restaurant that recently closed around here that literally defined my most major memories my whole life. The business owner doesn't know that, right? And
Yes.
so if I would have had a moment to go in one more time, I would have liked that, and not everybody has the option to, hold these things open, but I'm doing something a little non-traditional and announcing early so people have the time to heal, and to be able to take their moments grieving, the community, and being able to do it together. And I prepared my staff as well so that they had a moment before they need to be there for our community and our clients. And so all of this has been a very hard process. It's grieving, um, grieving a dream. But, one thing that I did make a decision on was, because I gave myself time with this, to step back from the business and say, what are the investments I've made in the business that could go somewhere else? And so one of those things was virtual yoga.
Yes.
And so I already have Business Balance Bliss, and where we incorporate a lot of that philosophy. So the virtual yoga, the live streaming, and the recorded classes will move over to that business. So it was a way to find, in this new world, instead of trying to resist it, that this is how people want to do things right now, and it's the times, and the fear and whatever else, and how people's lives have changed over the last 2 years. So, so there's good that's come out as well. And I've gotten just the most amazing messages, since I announced, and also people that were part of the business very early on, that what it meant to them, and so forth. And that's the thing with what you create and what you put out in the world. You don't really know how it impacts each person individually because they're going through their lives. So that's mattered a lot, to hear from everybody as well. So, but I wanted to use this as an example for others as a leader of such hard financial and emotional decisions, but what we have to do for others at the same time.
I'm sorry that you've had to make this decision. A couple times in this discussion just now, Amy, you've talked about the death of a dream. And while you were doing that, I was thinking about, our identities as professionals, and, how helping people transition in succession and retirement, how rough it can be for them because they identify in a certain way, who they are, their introductions to people at dinner parties and socially, it's part of their story, and they have to separate from that when they retire, or talk about it in the former tense. You realized the dream, but it served its purpose, I guess. That's what, at the end of the day, philosophically, we all transition and move to something else. We all do, and we're having a lot of transitions in our profession and in our nation and on the globe. People are changing jobs, and we've got tons and tons and tons of baby boomer retirements, 10,000 a day, and we have businesses closing in our town. Restaurants don't seem to sell the big, long, the ones that have been in business 50 years or 60 years. They get to a place where they don't want to sell them, and the family won't take them over, and so they just close. We have one that just announced, and they have the best carrot cake on the planet. And I'm serious. It's huge. These pieces are ridiculous, like a pound a piece. And I get them for my parents twice a year. Maybe I always give them at Valentine's. And as soon as I heard about it, I felt like bawling. And then I went, but they gave us notice, they're not closing till the end of February. And so I raced over there, bought carrot cake, Brian, and I, and took it to my parents because we all read it in the paper. And so they gave us time to process that loss. And, which I think is super. It's hard because then you have to sort of endure the conversations as the business owner, but it's part of your grieving process too. And so a lot of professional services people retire and they don't tell anyone. We see this all the time. They're going out, they're going to be done by the end of 12/31/22, but they haven't mentioned it to any of their clients. And, they go through this busy season and don't say a word, or say, well, Susan over here is helping me out now. They're just not explicit. It's so awkward. And I wonder whose feelings we're sparing,
Hmm.
because I don't think it helps the person who's leaving. And it certainly doesn't help the clients or the transitionees, or any of that. And so
Hmm.
this massively transparent way of communicating this is huge, Amy, and vulnerable and scary and sad, but courageous and powerful and honoring everybody.
Hmm.
So I'm proud of you for it. I'm proud of you also for letting something go that doesn't work, which is
Yeah,
hard. Service
it is
lines,
hard.
service lines
Mhm.
inside firms that they don't want to let go.
Right.
People that don't work on the team that we love, but they're failing or flailing or quietly not awesome, and not making a
Yeah.
difference. We just hold on to stuff, and I'm proud.
Well, and I think that's, been part of the discussion with my staff is we all know, being in the room and practicing together, like how powerful that is for us, hearing people's breath,
Yes.
um, just sharing the energy together. Um, but that doesn't mean that's as important to everybody else. And you can keep holding on to the past. And it doesn't mean it's not working in some places. It just happens to be where we are.
Yes.
There's been a number of yoga studios that have closed, and have had much worse hardships than us. I do find myself fortunate as a business owner. I remember when I was in high school, my mom owned many businesses and I worked in them. And she would take me to like networking events and I would talk to and they were in like property management and real estate. And I would talk to them about, what I should do when I go to college. And every one of them said, be an accountant because you'll understand business. And I am fortunate that running a business, it's not, I know the numbers as hard as that is to know the truth.
Yes. Yeah.
And through all the years and experiences of consulting with other small businesses and entrepreneurs as well, I know how long it takes to turn things around and whether that is something that I can handle on my own anymore. Um, there's times in a business where you have to figure out what your purpose is. And so this business has never been a moneymaker for me. I felt it was a purpose business. It was almost like a not-for-profit what it did was serve the community. But it gave back to something that meant so much to me. So even though I wasn't making money being there, I enjoyed every moment of watching people's journeys and transformations and being a part of it, which led to what I do now, honestly, and bringing
Yes.
it into the
Yes.
business world. And a lot of those same models. So I'm fortunate for that experience. And I think all of us can look at any experience and know it made us better in some way, even if they're bad experiences. This is not one of those, but this has been a lot of hard times in this business. And I did have to make a decision that it wasn't going to be my income of having this business. This business was a purpose business and it was for others, because I had gotten so much out of the practice myself. But now comes transformation and honesty about where the world is and what people need right now and where they need it. And and the uncertainty of every time there's a COVID outbreak, how that shifts the business and what the model is, and if I'm willing to change the model or not, or put more investment in at this time. I just can't, and so there's
Yeah.
just those moments that you come to, but doesn't make it easy from an emotional side, but it is important, um, to not keep pushing on something, um, just holding on because you end up getting in more trouble. And I've watched people get in more trouble because this business they created was their passion and their dream. And, you know, so it's hard knowing both sides sometimes too.
For sure. And, I was just thinking about the advisors in your life, the people that you trust. And,
yes.
And sometimes those people will sort of want to hold on to that piece of your identity with you, and they won't look at it through clear eyes. Sometimes the people closest to us aren't able to help us sort of sever the situation, sever ties with whatever it is. They are also close to it and they just keep wanting to hold on. And sometimes you have to get like an external third party. I always say to people, as a consultant, I don't have a dog in the race, and so, sometimes you have to get somebody out there, and it doesn't have to be a paid consultant. It could be anybody, that you feel like is not super emotionally tied, doesn't have a stake in this decision. And to get their support, or if they say, I really think you should give it more, or man, it sounds like you've given it way more than you should have, maybe, but yes, definitely. So that's just another thought on these transitions and how
I absolutely so many people pop through my head as you were saying that have been close to me, that have known the business.
Yes.
I mean, my best friend, she is a business owner herself, and knew the heart part of it, but also kept keeping me grounded in where the business at as well. And she knows as a business owner, what's possible as well. And I've had staff that have been with me since the beginning of the studio that have the same passion, purpose, feeling of, even though they're not an owner, they act as they are. And, it's been hard for all of us to come to this acceptance, but we all knew it was that we held on as long as we could. So I don't think anyone's surprised, but, there's definitely people, that have shown their care, that have meant so much to me. And they also know like how much the studio means to me, and so forth. So it's hard for people to stay, try to give you their best advice without being light about it, because even if you ask, they know how much you love something. It wasn't a business that, I mean, it was definitely, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes that people never know, in a business that has been hard over the years.
Yes.
But it didn't matter, because every time you saw transformation or healing or joy, it just didn't matter.
Right.
So, so we know we did that. And, so, and I think celebrating all of those things, and that's why we're going through this process, and we're going to have a celebration weekend of all free classes and be there as a community to peacefully say goodbye. But I think, going to the side of being a consultant and talking to people about this stuff all the time and trying to let go of old ways of doing things, we often hold on too long. And as we've seen through COVID, many people did, and then we're scrambling because they never reorganized their business as they should have. And as a business owner, and I say this all the time to the people I work with, we have to work on our business, not just in it. And that's the arm's length piece of this, where we have to be doing right by the business at all times and try to take the emotion out of decisions sometimes, as hard as that is.
It's super hard. And, and I have a saying too that I say that nobody wants to hear. And I hate saying it when I do, because it's kind of sad and mean, but we have to do business in the market we're in, not the one we wish we had.
Yes.
And the market that's going to be there next week and next year, not the one that we used to like from the past.
Right.
Because that market probably isn't ever going to recur. And so making these decisions inside that reality, it's rough. But powerful, courageous leaders lead their teams and clients through these tough things based on those sort of truths, even though it hurts and it's hard to face. I'm
Yeah.
proud of you, and I'm
Well, thank you.
grateful that you shared this. I'm serious.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
it's important for us to share our hard things too,
yes,
you know, so
sure.
things are not perfect for us all the time as business owners. And I don't want
Not
to
even
pretend.
close.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna pretend,
Yeah,
if anything, we're very transparent on here, but it's important to know that as consultants, we go through this stuff too. And not that we're perfect in any way of making these decisions or how we go about it, but to share our journeys as well.
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing this part of your journey with us. And for those of you who are out there, we welcome your comments and suggestions and thoughts, not just about tough business decisions you've had to make and maybe some of the strategies you've used, but also anything else you want us to talk about in future leadership lunch chats. And I don't think I have any hiatus or any of that to announce. I think we're just here next Friday,
Yep.
the 11th of February. We'll see you then. And until then, Amy, take care, and I'll be thinking about you.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, everybody.